In February 2013, 21-year-old Canadian tourist Elisa Lam vanished at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, and mystery has surrounded her death ever since. Four minutes of grainy security footage that changed how the internet sees a simple elevator ride. A young woman enters alone. She presses every button. She steps out. She steps back in. She looks at something beyond the camera. Her face turns to pure terror. Then she walks away. That is the last image of 21-year-old Elisa Lam alive. What happened next would take 13 days to find, and some questions still have no answers. Tonight, we reopen a case that has baffled investigators and captivated the internet for over a decade. It is a story that starts with a young woman chasing adventure and ends in a water tank on a locked rooftop. This is the death of Elisa Lam. Elisa Lam was 21 years old. She was from Vancouver, Canada, studying psychology at a local college. By all accounts, she was quiet, introverted, a young woman who loved animals and dreamed of traveling. She'd saved up for months for this trip. Los Angeles was supposed to be her adventure. The Cecil Hotel sits on downtown Las Skid Row, a budget accommodation in one of America's toughest neighborhoods. It is the kind of place where rooms go for $40 a night. The kind of place where desperate people end up. When Elisa booked her stay, she was looking for cheap. What she found was something else entirely. The Cecil Hotel didn't build its reputation from nothing. In the 1980s and 90s, two notorious serial killers had stayed there. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, used the Cecil as a home base. Jack Unterweger, the Austrian killer, checked in with a journalist's credential. The hotel had been a hunting ground. It was written about in true crime books, and somehow, Elisa Lam never knew. Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel on the 1st of February 2013. She was assigned a room on the 5th floor, one floor above the street, but far from the rooftop. Her booking was for a few days. She planned to explore LA, visit Santa Monica, maybe see the Walk of Fame. She was excited. She told her family she'd call every day, and she did for exactly 2 days. The 3rd of February was the last day anyone heard from Elisa Lam. Her family in Canada tried calling. Nothing. They tried again the next day. Still nothing. By the 5th day, they were worried sick. They filed a missing persons report in Vancouver. But law police didn't treat it as urgent. She was a young adult. She was probably just traveling. The case sat, and the hotel. They had no idea she was missing, no daily check-ins, no follow-ups, nothing. The 6th of February, 5 days after her last contact, security cameras in the Cecil Hotel captured something extraordinary. Elisa Lam enters the elevator on the 4th floor. She presses buttons for multiple floors. She steps out, steps back in, presses more buttons. Then she looks toward the camera. Her expression shifts to unmistakable fear. She backs into the corner. Her hands raise as if defending against something. Then she walks out forever. This is one of the case's first major contradictions. Initial news reports explicitly stated that police had reviewed the elevator footage and found nothing unusual. The footage showed no one following her, no suspicious persons. Nothing. Except we now know that footage existed and showed everything. Every press of every button, every glance at something beyond the camera, every expression of fear. Why did authorities claim to see nothing? The 19th of February 2013, hotel guests on the upper floors start complaining. The water pressure is weak. It is barely a trickle. Maintenance is called. The problem seems simple, a leak, maybe a blockage. A maintenance worker climbs to the rooftop to investigate. He opens the water tank access, and there she is. Elisa Lam was found naked in a water tank on the Cecil Hotel rooftop. Her body was bloated from 19 days in the water. She'd been wearing only a t-shirt and underwear. The rest of her clothes were never found. The tank lid had been closed above her. The rooftop was not accessible to guests. It required a key that hotel management controlled. She was discovered 13 days after that final elevator ride. The autopsy took weeks. Initial results were described as inconclusive. There were no fractures, no defensive wounds, no signs of a struggle on her body. Toxicology came back clean, no drugs, no alcohol. The coroner ruled death an accidental drowning. Manner, undetermined. But how did she get into that tank? How did she get onto that locked rooftop alone? The official explanation left more questions than comfort. The official ruling was accidental drowning, but the questions never stopped. She was fully clothed in that elevator, jeans, a sweater, found in only a t-shirt and underwear. Someone removed those clothes. The rooftop required a key. The water tank had a heavy lid. She couldn't have done this alone, not unless she was in a severely altered mental state. Why did authorities wait so long to release the elevator footage? And why did they initially claim there was nothing to see? The Cecil Hotel had serious problems that predated Elisa Lam's death. There was no daily check-in system, no follow-up with guests who didn't return. The security was minimal at best. In 2011, a woman had been raped in her room. Criminals used the hotel as a base. When guests disappeared, nobody noticed. When Elisa went missing, questions about who had access to her floor, to the rooftop, to her, went unanswered. La PD never named a suspect. They never made an arrest. They never adequately explained the 13-day gap between her last appearance and her discovery, even though hotel staff performed daily maintenance on those very water tanks. The investigation was criticized as rushed, incomplete, and biased toward closure over answers. They ruled it a tragedy without finding the truth. The Cecil Hotel wasn't just a background for this tragedy, it was a character in it. Multiple confirmed murders had occurred on its premises. The building had housed some of America's most notorious killers when they were in LA. A culture of crime had calcified around the building for decades. The question isn't whether someone dangerous could have been there. The question is whether anyone was looking. The elevator footage has been analyzed millions of times, frame by frame, theory by theory. Some experts argue Elisa Lam shows signs of a mental health crisis, bipolar disorder, manic episode, psychosis. Her behavior in the elevator could be explained by paranoia, disorganized thinking, fear of something that wasn't there. It is a theory that fits the accidental drowning ruling, but others see something different. Other viewers see something darker in that footage. They see a woman being followed by someone we can't see on camera, someone in the elevator shaft, someone who waited until she stepped out. The gestures she makes, pressing every button, looking both ways, could be responses to a threat, not a delusion. The fear in her eyes could be real. And if someone was there, the Cecil Hotel had every opportunity to find them. Here is something that adds another layer. A police report from the 14th of February, 8 days after the elevator footage, states that officers were called to the Cecil for a psychiatric emergency. A woman was screaming, hitting walls, running through the hallways. Officers responded. They found nothing. They left. Was it Elisa? If she was in crisis, the system failed to help her. If it wasn't her, someone else was falling apart in that hotel. Either way, no follow-up was documented. Let's examine the practical realities. The rooftop was not accessible to the general public. You needed a key, controlled by hotel management. The water tanks had heavy lids. They weren't light. To get onto that rooftop, Elisa Lam would have had to obtain a key, climb a ladder, remove a heavy lid, remove her clothes, and climb in alone in a mental health crisis. It is possible. It is also possible someone helped her, someone who knew how to get up there, someone who never came forward. The case was officially closed in 2013. The death was ruled accidental drowning, manner undetermined. The LAPD's investigation was criticized but never reopened. The hotel eventually closed in 2017 and was converted to supportive housing. The case file was archived, but the elevator footage didn't stop playing. The questions didn't stop being asked. The mystery didn't end. Here is what the evidence supports. Elisa Lam was 21. She traveled alone to La. She stayed at the Cecil Hotel. She was captured on camera on the 6th of February behaving erratically. Her body was found 13 days later in a water tank on a locked rooftop. Her death was ruled accidental drowning. No suspect was ever named. That is what is documented. That is what is certain. Here is what keeps this case alive. We don't know who removed her clothes. We don't know how she got onto that rooftop. We don't know who or what she was reacting to in that elevator. We don't know if she was alone in those 13 days. We don't know why police claimed to see nothing when the footage showed everything. And we don't know if LAPD adequately investigated a potential predator. The official ruling provides no answers. Elisa Lam's family has spoken publicly about their daughter's death. They don't believe it was accidental. They don't believe she'd have gotten onto that rooftop alone. They've pushed for more answers. They've demanded investigations into the hotel's security. But the case remains closed. Their daughter is gone, and their questions remain unanswered. For them, this isn't a cold case. It is a wound that won't close. The Elisa Lam case has spawned every theory imaginable. Some believe a hotel worker was responsible. Some point to a morphing entity caught in the footage, a shadow that moves wrong. Some see supernatural elements. Some focus on a Netflix documentary that dramatized the case and introduced wild theories. But let's be clear, there is zero evidence supporting any foul play angle. The official investigation found none, but absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Here is the theory that may matter most. What if no single person is responsible? What if the system failed her at every step? The hotel had no security, the police had no urgency, the coroner had no answers, the family had no help. Each failure compounded into a tragedy that didn't need to happen. A check-in system might have caught her absence. A wellness check might have found her. A proper investigation might have named a suspect. Instead, every system failed. The Cecil Hotel closed its doors in 2017 after years of complaints, violations, and the infamy from the Lam case. But it wasn't demolished. It was renovated and reopened as Stay on Main, a new name, updated rooms, a coat of paint over decades of darkness. The address changed. The history didn't. Today, it stands as supportive housing for formerly homeless individuals. The building transformed. The ghosts, critics say, remain. We may never know what happened in those 13 days between that elevator ride and that rooftop tank. We may never know who she was hiding from, or if she was hiding at all. We may never know if someone chose that water tank for her, or if she chose it herself. What we know is a young woman died alone in a place that should have kept her safe, and the systems that should have found her sooner failed. Go to YouTube right now and search Elisa Lam elevator footage. The video has over 20 million views. The comments are still rolling in. A decade later, new theories, new analyses, new attempts to pause, frame, analyze. That 4 minutes of grainy security footage hasn't stopped playing since 2013. It has become a loop of uncertainty, a window into a mystery that refuses to close. And somewhere in that footage is a young woman who never walked out. A 21-year-old woman traveled to Los Angeles for adventure. She died alone in a water tank on a roof that should have been locked. It took 13 days to find her. The system that should have protected her failed at every single level, and somewhere, that elevator footage plays on, her face caught between terror and confusion. Reaching for buttons that wouldn't save her. That is the death of Elisa Lam. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more case files. And until next time, stay curious.